Thank you for joining us today. I am Arun Nandewal, a senior PM with Microsoft. We met last week and we kind of touched upon foundations of um, AI product management, right? And I hope you had a great learning from last week and this week, and you have done some hands-on on agentic AI as well. We'll try to touch upon uh, probably MCP servers today, a bit of GitHub Copilot. I know we have only so much time, but then we'll try to do as much as we can. So it'll be good to see some of you on camera. And again, like last time, only thing that I can control is because it's an open community session. Those of you who are on camera through and through I'll be able to take one-on-one questions from you. So please try to switch on your cameras. And yeah, with that, let's get started. So you did have session last week, fantastic session with Akhil in and around building your own agents, right? When we think of these agents, like a quick refresher, let me in fact um, open up the Google's definition of an agent. I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the research paper. If we just read through this, right, let me put this in the presentation mode. And I can share this link in the chat so that you can also, those of you especially who are looking from the interview perspective, can refer this. Now, since you have all done a bit of LLM prompting yesterday, um, the foundations of agent starts with four things, right? And this is the general agent architecture. If you look at this, right, this is how Google defines it. And it's as simple as there is an LLM model, which can be your GPT-5, Gemini 2.5 Pro, or it can be Claude Sonnet, anything. We interact with it. We ask it certain queries which are called prompts. It looks at those queries and it gives us answer. So that is at a very high level what LLM prompting or LLM use cases. Now, when we think of an agent, and most of you have done that last week, it goes a step forward and it has three other things as well. One of them is it has its own memory where it can contextualize and keep the memory of the conversations and the context, which is what you see here. It has a reasoning ability, right? It can reason on its own, and then it has an action taking ability. And the framework that agents generally use is called React, which is reasoning and action, React, reasoning action framework, right? How are agents able to react, or how are they able to do reasoning and action? If we take an example, think of this, and this is again the same example that Google cites in the research paper. It's, yeah. So I am using an agent to build a flight, or sorry, to book a flight from Austin to Zurich, right? When I tell an agent that, hey, why don't you go ahead and book me a flight from Austin to Zurich? The question is, I want to book a flight from Austin to Zurich. The model first does reasoning. It says, okay, to do this or to do this action autonomously, I'll probably need to go look at different sites in case of India, because a lot of audience here is in India based and probably booking.com. I need to go to Make My Trip. I need to go to GoIbibo. I need to go to Skyscanner, find the prices or the flights which are most affordable or which are the most relevant to this person's search. So I will need to have multiple tools. Tools is flight booking, tools, airline booking, hotel booking, and so on and so forth. The second thought or the reasoning it does is, does the person have right travel actions or travel visa? So I would ask, hey, do you have a Swiss visa? Do you have a visa to travel in Europe? Uh, that second round of reasoning. And for that reasoning, the action that the agent probably would need to take is, it will need to either go and ask you to share your visa details, or probably go on a government site where you have given a number and validate that. So the second tool that this agent probably needs is go to the site and validate your visa. Now, these are the two tools. And as you tell it, okay, this is my visa, this is the flight that I want to book. The third piece which makes the agent an agent is autonomous. So the qualifying criteria of an agent is if it is able to react, which is do reasoning and take action on its own. The difference between what you do with ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude is general prompting. In general prompting, we ask a prompt, it gives us the answer, but it does not do actions for us. Now we would love to have agents which do our household chores and our utensils and so on and so forth, right? But that is not something that agents do. But agents should definitely be created in a manner that they are able to take independent autonomous action. And an agent is separated from an LLM or a normal application because of the three things. One is the memory, the other is reasoning, and autonomous decision making. That autonomous decision making is done because of these tools, right? So if it is able to go and search a sky scanner on my behalf, or if it is able to go and um, look at Make My Trip and find the flights that suit me the best, or it is able to search on Google that this person traveling from this country, what are the visa criteria for this person. That is what makes an agent autonomous. And this power of tools, why I'm giving you a quick refresher of this is for you to understand the value of MCP server, right? For you to really understand why are they even needed, you have to think of MCP as an entry into the world of LLMs and agents. Without MCP servers, you can think of tools having reasoning ability and LLM abilities, but not the action abilities. And this is where all the tools come in. Now, you build an agent which can react on your behalf on your Gmail. You can build an agent which takes user queries over WhatsApp. You can build an agent which probably reads your email, summarizes your action items. But then at the end of the day, it is accessing certain tools. It is accessing your Gmail, it is accessing your Outlook, it is accessing your WhatsApp, your Telegram. How does that happen? Now, all of these tools, right? If I have to integrate with a Telegram, if I have to integrate with a Notion, if I have to integrate with a Figma, just look at the journey of a product manager itself. I work with probably 8 different tools in my daily life. One is Figma, other is Jira, other is Notion, other is maybe Miro. And then there are 3 more tools where I do documentation, which is Excel, PowerPoint. I use Canvas. If I have to ask my agent to do all of this, it should have the ability to read through all of this, right? Right. So how do agents read? Yes, MCP can be thought as a bridge between agents, LLM rights. So this bridge, fantastic definition, Anshit Goel. But how do we know that this is the right bridge? Let's just talk from a traditional SaaS or traditional, unfortunately now we call this traditional technology, but the internet technology, right? What was the bridge for an end user who's using your website, right, to access your data or access? So think of yourself as an Amazon. You have all the data related to shoes, books, electronics that a user wants to buy, and you have a front end which has everything where you can go and transact and buy these shoes. How do we use to get this data? How does a web front end interact with the back end, right? How Yeah, HTTP, but what are those called? What is that bridge that gets you the data? API. Fantastic, Anchit. API calling, right? API is the standard benchmark that was established to have data transfers and handshake between front end and back end. And also, very simply said, it was a framework. Now, HTTPS is the secure protocol on which APIs work, but APIs in general were your bridge through which you could access databases, you could do authorization, you could do authentication, you could store user data, you could create wish listing, and you could do transactions of Amazon, um, or whichever e-commerce site that is. In today's world, when we have all these AI applications or wrappers with Claude, Perplexity, Grok, Gemini, um, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, you might be using all of them. Now in India, because they're targeting the Indian population, almost all of them are also giving it free. ChatGPT Pro is free for next full year. There is uh, Perplexity Pro, which is free for an year with Airtel. I want to um, attach my tools. I want to book my flights using Make My Trip. through one of these platforms, right? I want to have ChatGPT Pro do bookings for me. I'm doing some work, I'm researching on ChatGPT, and I want to go ahead and book my um, food on Swiggy. I don't want to open two different apps. I just want to open one app and I want to get that transaction done. I don't know how many of you are keeping a check on this, but just read this. So just this week, Amazon has sued OpenAI and Perplexity ChatGPT for having a tool where users can directly shop from Amazon sitting on their Perplexity and their OpenAI or ChatGPT. Now, this is harmful or this is treacherous, because then why would you go to an amazon.com and they will get none of your data, your preferences. They'll not be able to do yeah, sorry about that. So has only suit Perplexity. I also read somewhere it was ChatGPT, so I stand corrected, but it's a very recent thing. Now very soon companies would start coming out and saying, hey, we don't want our users to go and interact with these tools directly through ChatGPT or Perplexity, because we will not get any user data, we will not get any preferences, we will not get any browsing data. How do we make sense of what the user is wanting to buy and what are their needs, right? But before that, if Amazon has to enable a secure platform through which all the sales, purchase, and transactions of Amazon can be done on any of these platforms, you would not want any of these chat GPTs, Perplexity, Claude to access your platform in a manner that your original business goes away, right? How do you do that? The standard that is there for any business to set up their endpoints with which these LLM applications and the agents that we create can interact with is called MCP, Model Context Protocol. So APIs had been the bridge, and fantastic to the person who called out. APIs were the bridge to SaaS applications. MCP is the bridge or is the standard protocol with which you can create your endpoints, your applications, and they can directly be accessed through these LLMs, so that anyone who wants to expose their application endpoint, right, they can just go ahead and set up an MCP server, and these LLM agents can sign up to that. If you want to read how, and then this is again one of the bigger things, or a lot of innovations come out of Anthropic, the good standard frameworks come out of Anthropic. So this was an Anthropic innovation. It is something that got very popular earlier this year. So if you see, it's November 2024 is when this was released, and kind of February, March is when it started getting a lot of traction and heat, because everyone wanted to build an MCP server. People don't want to have 10 applications running independently. But if I'm using ChatGPT, I would love to have my Zomato, my Make My Trip, my Grow Zero the account directly accessible directly through these Claude, Perplexity, or ChatGPT. How can I access them? Right? How can I make that happen? That's through your MCP server. Now let's come to the theory of it, what exactly it is. If you look at it, if I put this in the presentation mode, MCP servers and MCP client, generally MCP protocol, is your C-type port. I love this definition. So it's your C-type port for everything around agentic and AI applications. It's a C-type port for all AI applications. What does C-type port do? We had A-type, we had B-type, we also had universal ports, which iPhone used to operate. What has C-type done now? Any thoughts in the chat? What does C-type do for you? C-type charger, what does it do for you? Universal to any device. What else? So you need to carry only one charger. That is great. But what else? Not necessarily fast charging everywhere. One cable for everything. The biggest pain point as an end user. What is the biggest pain point as an end user? The biggest pain point was picking a device and looking like this. How do I set it up? Which type is of this charger is this? Right? For an user who wants to use their tools, there should be very simple setup instructions, which are 1 or 2 lines where they can just integrate, insert, and start using any of these tools, agnostic of the tool device type. If it is Slack, if it is Google Drive, it is Apple Cloud, it is GitHub, it is my Gmail, everything, if it can be exposed as an endpoint to my agent or my AI application, I can just go ahead and use it. That's the advantage of MCP. How do you build MCP? How do you set up your application for an MCP? I don't think we'll be able to do it today. Reason being, it needs some hands-on. It also needs some setup, which is where we walk you through hands-on, step by step, in the course class. Because if you are someone who's comfortable with code, we can very easily do it on VS Code and GitHub Copilot. We would want you to teach that. If you are someone who's confident and comfortable with NA10, because I think as part of this quick workshop over the last week and this week, you have learned to build no code agents on NA10. We will give you a ready to use framework, how you can create your easy to use, ready to replicate template of MCP, right? So that's the definition of MCP server, model context protocol. It works, if you look at this, it works as a Type-C charger where you plug this into your AI application, and this can be anything. It can be Claude, it can be ChatGPT, it can be your any of those IDE-based browsers like Cursor, Windsurf, and directly start using these servers which are provided by the providers. As a PM, what does it mean for me, right? One, if I want my application to be used and accessed, if I want Figma to be used by AI enthusiast, I should have an MCP server, because that is the go-to standard. Anyone who's using an AI application wants to interact with my Figma, they cannot interact directly. They would need an MCP server. So for me as a PM of Figma, I would make sure that I have an easy to plug and play with the standardized format of MCP server available to the end user, where they can just go ahead and plug and start using the MCP, right? If you think of the architectural standpoint, earlier function calling was standardized across each of the tools. Like if you were integrating with Slack, it would have its own unique endpoint, and you would integrate with tokens and APIs. Google Drive would have something else. Google Console based tool called was so painstaking in NA10 and LangChain when you're creating your agents. And similarly, GitHub, you had to share your GitHub keys and you had to create your authorization tokens to access it. All of that is now solved with MCP. All of them provide MCP endpoints. You can just integrate with an MCP endpoint and you can start using them, right? This is a more elaborate version. Let me just zoom this in. So if you look at this, user is asking their query or their prompt. There's an MCP client which is sitting in between. It's plugging into all the potential tools that, like MCP tool 1, tool 2, tool 3, tool 4. It may be Slack, it might be Jira, it might be Figma, it might be Miro, it might be Windows Playwright for documentation, and it might be GitHub. All of them are integrated. Authorization and authentication is taken care by MCP server itself. You can directly access it without giving approval multiple number of times. And it's a standard plug and play model for you. This is the advantage, and this means your agents or your LLM applications are now more powerful and more mature than they were traditionally, because they can almost call all these tools whichever have provided access to MCP, right? One of the earliest one, or one of the most advanced companies in this domain was Google supported or empowered MCP server by Zerodha. In India, Zerodha were the earliest one. And there is this very easy to use guide and video that shows how you can do it, right? So let's actually do this. I'll open this is their blog. How do you connect your MCP server? Now think of this. I'm using my Claude throughout the day for my office related work or college related work. In the parallel, I also want to see how market is performing, how my portfolio is performing, how my holdings are doing. Rather than opening Zerodha, rather than doing authentication, authorization multiple number of times, can I just integrate with the MCP server that Zerodha has provided? And once I have set it up, I just go into my Claude and I ask it, okay, trigger MCP. It gets triggered and it is able to give me the real-time activity and real-time data from Zerodha. I don't even need to open an app and maintain that, because all my actions can be done by this endpoint of MCP. They have given this very simple config file. There is no magic in this. You just copy paste this. Let me stop sharing and let me share my entire screen so that we can actually see this. By the way, to integrate this with your Claude, you need the desktop version of Claude. It will not work on the browser version. So if you are using Claude on browser, you will need to install the desktop version. Sakshi, can you confirm if you are able to see my chat, like in my entire screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the free plan. There is nothing paid on this, and I've consciously used the free plan so that those questions as is it paid or is it not, right? If you see here, let's just follow the instructions. It says you go to your config file, go to settings, on developer, click on edit config. In edit config, add the following instructions. So if you see here, this is the instruction. Just copy this, go to your settings, Claude settings. If I go to developer, in the developer, it has a config. I have added 3 MCP servers: Kite, Weather API, and Microsoft Docs, right? I'll just edit config file. This is my config file. Let's open this in Kiro. Kiro is the IDE from Amazon. It's the equivalent of Cursor and Windsurf. I kind of like this, so I use this. If you see here, generally your file would look empty, right? So I can also try to open it with VS Code. Let's try that. Open with Visual Studio Code. Okay. Now I've opened this with my VS Code. We'll do this later. Let's open our I've opened my GitHub Copilot, and we'll probably do another free community session very soon on GitHub Copilot. So those of you who have not seen GitHub Copilot, how can you use it? What all does it do? Agent mode, ask mode, edit mode. We'll do a dedicated session on that, and will make you more aware about that also. For now, just think of it as how can it help me? I'll just ask it, hey, can you explain me what this file is all about? Be concise. I'm just walking you through what exactly is this code. So this JSON is Claude Desktop's MCP model connector server configuration. It tells apps how to start, connect to external MCP services. And at the top, if you see there, it defines MCP servers, right? And each of has its own ID and how they should be connected and launched. This command npx is the executable, environment variables are set, and finally these are the 3 entries. So you have Kite already set up. This is the endpoint for Kite Zerodha. This is run weather. So it provides AccuWeather API key is needed that you have already added. And there is Microsoft Docs MCP server that you have. It says that right now at this point, it doesn't look like that your AccuWeather API key is there. So you would need to want to validate that if it is active or not. Otherwise, it looks good. I already have added my code. And if you just click on this and you want to edit or add another MCP server, we'll try doing that. I'll keep this open. You just save this, close, go back and restart your Claude again. And then when you go to new chat, right, let's just start a new chat. If I see here, right, it says that there are some tools that you have from MCP, and one of the tool is Kite, which is by Zerodha, and it's already enabled, right? When you first time set up your config file, you'll need to shut down your, not shut down, you need to close your application for Claude and restart it, and you'll start seeing this. Within this, if I click, it has all these functions that Zerodha has exposed with its MCP server. So you can log in, you can get quotes, get trades, get your own profile, get your orders that you have placed, and you can have your trade summaries, right? At this point of time, it also gives you holdings data, but it does not give you your tax, STCG or LTCG data. And that is one thing that a lot of people are asking on their MCPs. But let me just say, hey, can you access my Zerodha account? So if you see here, it will hit the tool. I can help you access your Zerodha. It has hit the tool of Kite and it is requesting login. Now, if you see, it is figuring out which endpoint can it hit to get me to login, right? Let me start by logging you in. It will not be able to do it because right now I have manually overridden every time I wanted to log in. Otherwise, it can just initiate the conversation. So I'll just stop sharing because it will ask password and it will take me to the Zerodha screen so that I can give it the OTP and it will be able to log in then, right? And then we'll come back and see this again. I'll just stop sharing and complete my login. So how can I discover all the MCP servers that I have as an end user, or what are the platforms where I can go and host my MCP server once I've created that, right? There are these MCP marketplaces and there are two which we have it open here. So there is this MCP market, right? You go here and you'll be able to find all the products, all the tools who have published their MCP servers, right? You can see developer tools, you have data sciences tools. Let me just click on all, browse all. So there is Microsoft Playwright, right? There is Serena, there is um, Figma Context, there is Microsoft MCP, there is Google, there is NA10 directly interacting with that, right? Let's see if we can have our some of the more popular AWS. Oh, AWS also launched. That's interesting. I've not seen this before. So if we look at AWS and if I look at its instructions or README, it will tell you how can you integrate and start using it, right? Very standard instructions like we had. So all for the end user, they all make it very standardized. You just need to copy paste this into your example configuration like mcp.json, just copy paste this and you'll start using this server, right? Let's see if there is something which is more interesting. There is this one for YouTube transcript. It retrieves the entire transcript for you, and then if you want to make notes from that video. I don't think enables integration between WhatsApp and LLMs. This is interesting. I don't know who the publisher is. One thing is you can always look at number of stars, but also look at the publisher. If it is the organization itself, then it can be trusted. Otherwise, let's see what is it taking as a primary identifier for WhatsApp. It is cloning the repository, but what is it asking for WhatsApp? Path directory. Yeah, it's not. Where does it get my credentials from for WhatsApp? I wouldn't recommend this. Don't use it. I don't see the unique identifier. Code interpreter. These are, see, there is one from Notion. When you see the publisher being the company itself, and you will see there is a direct access through MCPC. Very simple. It has the API key MCP header. You just add it here and you'll be able to access your Notion page, all the files that you have on your Notion, all the documentation. If you want to directly read, write, try on your Notion, you can do all of that, right? And it tells you the instructions as well, like how do you set up your profile and integrations with Notion, right? Getting started, add a page and get the content of the page with the unique ID. Awesome. I'll try this one today. Okay, let's see if there is some B2C company which has An MCP server. Grafana has one, which is good. Data engine. Okay. So there are these platforms. Okay, so we have covered the definition of MCP. We have covered how do clients interact with MCP servers, right? And how do you set it up in your Claude or GPT or your any other LLM application? There are these marketplaces. There are two marketplaces. One is MCP market, and there is another one. Let me see if I have link to that open. This is MCP market. I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. So you can look at your you can look at the type of application that you want to have if you want, and you can filter it out by official. And they have also commercialized this. Don't use this one. Let's go for MCP market itself. Once you have created your MCP server, if you want it to be tested, audited, and published here for anyone else to discover, you can do submit MCP, right? And they will ask you for the endpoints and your repo, if it is public repo, kind of a GitHub public repo that they can access. How you need to read it is important. This is one of the most popular, if you see across the board, this is the GPT researcher and Playwright. Google Playwright is the most popular one, right? It Playwright helps you automate browser-based testing of LLM applications, and it has seen a lot of uptake as a MCP server. So when you read it, first is you understand what are the features or what are the tools that it enabled. Like we foundationally started by saying MCP is the standard protocol that can be used to access the tools. What tools does each of the MCP server give? Right? You start reading that here, right? Deterministic tool application avoids ambiguity, fast and lightweight browser automation using Playwright accessibility tree, and LLM friendly, purely operates on structured data. Then you read what are the key features and how to use it. It can help in web navigations and form filling. It can help in data extraction and general purpose browser interactions of agents. How do you set it up? You just copy paste this code into any of the LLM applications. If you're trying to set up in VS Code, this is your code snippet to be done in um, your terminal. And if it is a VS Code Insider, Insider is for people who are within Microsoft. If they want to use VS Code Insiders, they can use this. And yeah, that's about it. Once you have that ready, let's try to see this. Let's run this. Okay. I am trying to access the Playwright MCP server in VS Code. Can you help me set it up with the below snippet? Because it is my personal laptop, I'm not having VS Code Insider. I'm using the general purpose VS Code. It will probably say that I already see your Microsoft Playwright is already installed in this. Okay, quick ways. You can either run this. Now I don't want to do all this. I don't want myself to struggle with this. Let me go into the agent mode and I'll ask it, why don't you set up for me this MCP server? Simple. Okay, it has decided 3 jobs that it needs to do. It will update the config file to add the playwright MCP server. Okay. This is the edited file. I'll ask it to go ahead and I'll allow it. So you see it has added those extra line of code by itself without me writing a single code. It has applied the patch. I can save it. Okay. So it says I added the playwright MCP server, and next step is save this and reload your VS Code and how to run this. Updated this. The config file is ready. You can now get an access to this. You can open it from command line also. Let's just save this and close it. I'll go ahead and restart. Let's quit. Yeah. Let's see if it is able to access the playwright. These are the tools. Okay, playwright is also here, and let's see what are the playwright. It can evaluate JavaScript, it can upload files, it can fill forms, it can detect a press of a key, navigate. Earlier, if you saw, there were 3 tools or 3 MCP server. Now I have 4. I have integrated with my MCP as well, right? So this is as simple as that. But this is us trying to access the established MCP server. As a PM or as a person who would want their application to be also available to other users, I would want to set up my MCP servers as well. To get started, the easiest way to show it in your portfolio or to do a quick hands-on is with NA10, right? We will share this deck also with you, but if you don't need to even create your agents from scratch. Just go to your NA10, go to your NA10 home, right? This is how, and I would love for you, some of you, to actually do this with me so that we can go ahead and play around, right? You have all learned NA10, how to set up the nodes, the tools, the agents that you have created so far are manually getting set up without MCP. If you just go into this, right, this is your NA10, you go to your products and you click templates, right? When these templates load, I'm just waiting for this to come up. I'll close all of these. Yeah, so it has 6774 workflows. Just search in this MCP and hit enter. You'll see ready to use RAG MCP server, ready to use, build your own NA10 workflow with number of stars and what all workflows are there. There is one is this and the other one is Jarvis. Google Sheet MCP. Just click on this, right? And you can, let's click to explore. It's loading. If you see in the tools node, earlier the chat node would have interacted with all these nodes individually, which is Google Sheets, Gmail, Google Calendar, one by one. Each of the tools was independently done. Now what we have done is all of these are listening to the MCP server, and I've just attached an MCP client node here. If you open this, oops, you have to just enter your SSE endpoint that your server is live on, and these two should be consistent. Just copy this endpoint and add it to your MCP client, and your agent is up and running. It saves all this effort for you because now your model is running as is, it has a simple memory, but rather than pointing to individuals tool via different mechanisms and making your workflow complex, all of them are now pointing to a standard defined mechanism of MCP server, right? And that can be triggered through MCP client. Um, there is another fantastic workflow, which is Jarvis. I love this one because it has broken down your MCPs by task, like finance manager, all the Google Sheets are, your finance tracker is here, right? Then there is Gmail MCP, there is calendar MCP, there is task manager MCP, get to do task, and then there is Google Contacts MCP, and all of them are connected to your Jarvis. It anything, and you can change this to WhatsApp trigger also. Anytime you want to take an action, send a calendar invite, set up a Gmail, mark an expense, make an entry of expense. I've ordered something on Swiggy. It does it for you, right? So try these two, set it up on your local host, and then probably you'll see how these MCP works. At this point, I don't think we'll have time to write the code, and this audience is also, I think, I'm not sure if the audience was informed that we can write end-to-end code and we'll be building MCP agent. So I'm not going into that direction, but yeah, that's at a very high level. But one thing that I want to also share with you, which is this A2A protocol. MCP was very popular and was uh, a nice technology, or a technology that almost all B2C or B2B companies were trying to set up. They still are. One thing that is getting more prevalent and that you should be reading on, where we are spending a lot of energy and effort, is A2A protocol. Like MCP is good, but it's good because it helps you connect to the tools. What if there are multiple agent, each agent does its autonomous task and it is able to listen to each other, right? And that can bypass the need of MCP. Think of like this: MCP has a server and a client, and if that server goes down, you're not able to access your tools. To overcome that limitation, why not have an A2A protocol where then agents can listen to each other directly, and agents are autonomously working with tools. So even if one agent goes down, you clearly have that lineage and observability saying that, okay, this agent is not working, probably you should try to set up the tool on some other agent. So that's where this one is getting popular. Um, the use case of this right now is not much prevalent in NA10, but as soon as we get something, we can share that with you. So yeah, it's kind of slightly technical concept, but I hope you try. So your three steps should be: first should be you integrate an MCP server with one of your LLM application, Claude, Cursor, or Windsurf. Second, look at this marketplace, read some of the documentation, understand how MCP servers are created. Third, create your own MCP server based agents using NA10. And then fourth is um, we will get into the weeds of actually building an MCP agent. So yeah, that's how we'll go about this. Difference, there is no big difference between Jarvis and other. Jarvis is again an N8 agent, is just um, a more refined or more broken down structured one. Okay, I'll take a pause. Sakshi, can we take some Q&A or I'll stop sharing?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's look in the chat, just seeing if there is. But yeah, thank you so much for spending your time. I hope you tried this and you set up. There are also some B2C companies which are evaluating MCP in India. You can look at those as well. What is the difference? Jarvis, I've already answered. Local N8N is better because on cloud, after 14-15 days, it will expire, and then probably you'll need to pay to set it up. So run it on the Docker, and I think that will be better. This is the question from BN. Yeah. Okay, did the screen freeze in between? Okay.
That was quite brief. I think it was fine.
Got it.
Just before you started with anything.
Okay, looks like the rest of them are around certifications and recordings. So yeah, anything else, Sakshi, that you want to cover?
So there is a good question. Can you share a list of AI tools that you use as a senior PM?
Oh, okay, sure. So, okay, I can do that quickly. Let's see how much we can cover in the next 15-20 minutes. Let me close this out. So first one is Notion. I'll just open that up and show it to you, right? And you can have a lot of fun in this.
Yeah. And Arun, I think even if you're not a senior PM, right? If you're building anything on your own, um, this sort of tools like case that you have would help everyone.
One. Yep. So it does not depend if you are a senior PM or if you are someone who's just getting started, as Sakshi said, right? There are a few tools that definitely make you more productive in your roles, be it consultant, be it marketing experts, be it um, just technology enthusiast, right? I'll just quickly show you some of those. If you look at Notion, right? Um, I'll just let's just look at. So this is Uber, right? I use Notion AI, and on Notion AI, I just ask, hey, can you create a PRD? This is the problem that I'm trying to solve, and it created this entire PRD for me for Uber mismatch of drivers. And then I ask it, okay, just don't want you to create the PRD. I also want you to create a 6-week roadmap for me where I know what are the tasks that engineering team will do, front end team will do, back end team will do, and it was able to create that as well. Let me, in fact, select this uh, and let's go into Notion AI. Now it is having the context of this, right? So let me just ask you, can you create a task tracker for me for a roadmap of 6 months for engineering, design, marketing, operations, product, and business and testing. So if I run this, okay, I'm out of my free credits. Let's try to log in on the other one. Yeah, I was logging in, Arvind. Takes time. I don't want to share my personal credentials. So yeah, if I show you what I do on Notion is, let's just go here, create a new page. On this new page, probably I'll just say, let's create an empty page. And on this, let's apply Notion AI and say, help me write a comprehensive BRD to solve the problem for Zomato trying to serve the gym goers who want to measure their calorie intake. Also, make sure we have work items for engineering, design, marketing, operations, and product with tasks and clear deliverables for 6 months roadmap. Let's hit this. So if you see it as defining the scope, the use cases, non-functional requirement, data models, analyticals and experimentation, release plan, blah, blah, blah. And now it has come up with a 6-month roadmap, month 1, month 2, what each of the team would be doing, right? And the acceptance criteria for this feature. Let's just keep this and just say, save this as a new page in my Notion. Okay, it says I can save this as a Notion page titled, yes, yes, create a new page and share link with me. Let's go. Okay, so this is ready. Let's go here. And now I'll show you how I use it, right? So create a task and all the tracker for me for this. I'm sorry for all the project managers who might be there on this call because it's all automated with Notion, right? So let's see what it creates. It's creating a task tracker database. I can integrate this also with Jira, and in the meanwhile, I'll also show you some more tools. Okay, so it has created the task tracker. If you see, it is getting populated. Okay, it is updating the status. If you see all these dependencies, work items, status, work item, priority, owner, due date, deliverable, URL, everything is being auto created. Dependencies, notes. Okay, your task tracker is ready on this page. I won't. Let's see the magic. Let us auto populate all tasks for all teams. And done. Engineering, data science, marketing, operations, all tasks are created. All P0 priorities are there. 6-month roadmap and dates are there. If you want to see this on your status, you can see the status which has started, which are in backlog. In next 30 days, which are the ones that you need to do. What is the timeline roadmap looking like for all the items, right? And what is the calendar schedule for next 6 months? All your tasks are created and you can just come and do all your scrums here. As simple as that, right? Now I can just say, I want you to give me SQL queries that I can use to get this data from this database. Let's see. If I'm storing, yes, all of this is in Notion itself. And it has given me all the queries by different teams, timelines, roadmap statuses. I just need to run these queries and get the data. This is how I as a PM use Notion, some quick workflows. Let me show you more power, right? Let me show you one more tool, which is Miro AI. And again, I'll just go ahead and say, okay, first let's give me in 12 sticky notes of problems why gym goers don't use probably Zomato. Are you able to see my screen on Miro?
Yes.
Awesome. So this is ready. I'll add this to Canvas. Let's select them and let's ask it to create a workflow diagram, create a flowchart, create a flowchart explaining how a person who goes to gym will order food on Zomato so that before ordering he can see his food intake, calorie count. And think of the time it generally takes us to do all of this, right? See, it has created your entire diagram, how the workflow would look like. You can just move this and you can run it to run your engineering team through this. Let's also probably create a feature backlog quickly, a feature backlog for all the features that I would want to include in Zomato for gym goers who order more with Zomato. It also include priority status and work needed. It is generating all the ideas for me. Okay. Hydration reminder, fitness community review, supplement store integration, calorie counter, macronutrient filters. Great set of features. Now, I am working as a product manager in Zomato. Not always my head of PM would have time to review my BRD or my spec documents. I can just go ahead, right click on this, use this Miro AI and get feedback and suggestion from a product leader. This product leader is like a GPM, 15 years of experience working on your product. Just click on this. It will come on your page and start reading your entire thing, how you're doing it. I'll just zoom this out so that you can see how the product leader is working, right? And before you take your thing for review, let's just select this. Select this, get feedback from product leader. See, your product leader is now reviewing your content, reading each item one by one, and they have left 2 comments. Let's go and read those comments. It looks, let me show you on the other one. If this is the Uber one, this is how the product leader leaves the comment. So you know where is the scope of improvement. This is another tool that I use to be hyper productive and also give back time to my leadership before thinking of ideas, right? Um, we are also at time. I can show you few more. Let me show you FigJam as well. Uh, yeah, so let's delete this. So this is my FigJam. I want to invite my users for quickly doing research. Earlier, I used to set up dashboard, collect their sticky notes and so on and so forth, right? Rather than doing that, I can just select all, delete, go to FigJam, create a new page. Yeah, create a customer research dashboard to get feedback from users on why gym goers don't go to use Zomato, have brainstorming space for engineering, marketing, and design. Okay, reverted back to this. Let's see, brainstorm of ideas with engineering, marketing, and design. How can we make Zomato better for gym goers? Yeah. So enhancing user experience, your dashboard is created. You have this template ready. You can just share, you can invite people and they can just start coming and dumping their ideas. And you have a prioritization metric as well. So these are a few tools. I can keep going. I think with AI PM, there are so many more. There is Napkin, there is Notebook LLM, there is Canva AI, there is GitHub Copilot is one of the strongest one, which we'll be doing a end-to-end session on. But because we are out of time, I'll stop at this point. Yeah.